You're not seeing reality. You never were. Right now, this moment, your brain is lying to you. Not maliciously, necessarily. Every surface, every color, every sense of distance and solidity, it's a fabrication. A seamless hallucination your nervous system constructs 60 times per second to keep you functional, to keep you sane. But something's wrong with the construction. You've felt it, haven't you? Those moments when time stutters, when you walk into a room and forget why. When a word you've said 1,000 times suddenly sounds alien in your mouth. When you look at your own hand and for just a fraction of a second, it doesn't feel like yours. Those aren't glitches, they're cracks. There's a Victorian book, Flatland, written in 1884, about creatures living on a two-dimensional plane. Totally flat. They see only lines and edges. Their entire universe is a sheet of paper, and they can't even conceive of up. The main character, a square, lives his entire life believing that his flat world is all that exists. Then one day, a sphere passes through. To him, it appears as a circle, emerging from nothing, growing, shrinking, vanishing. Magic. Impossible. Terrifying. He lacks the dimensional vocabulary to understand what just intersected his reality. You are that square. And right now, as you hear these words, something is passing through your plane. Something you can't see directly. Something that's been moving through you your entire life. You've been living inside a dimensional cage, mistaking the bars for the whole of existence. But the cage is starting to open. Let's talk about something you don't often hear. Matter and consciousness might not be separate things. We've been taught to think of the universe as a collection of stuff. Atoms, particles, energy. And then somehow, out of that stuff, consciousness emerges. Like a magic trick where dead matter suddenly wakes up and starts thinking. But what if that's backwards? The ancient philosophers got something right that modern science is only now beginning to rediscover. Consciousness isn't a product of matter. Consciousness might be what matter is made of. Think about quantum mechanics for a second. At the subatomic level, particles don't have definite positions until they're observed. They exist in what physicists call superposition, a fuzzy cloud of probabilities. The electron is here and there and everywhere simultaneously, until someone looks. Then it collapses into a single point. The universe, at its most fundamental level, doesn't prefer solid objects. It prefers possibilities. And consciousness is what turns possibility into actuality. Now here's where dimensions come in. What if dimensions aren't just geometric coordinates? What if they're levels of consciousness, layers of awareness? A one-dimensional being, a point, would have no awareness of anything beyond itself. It would be pure, isolated existence, no movement, no change, just isness. A two-dimensional being, our friend the square, can perceive length and width. He can see other shapes, understand patterns, move through space. His consciousness is richer, more complex. A three-dimensional being, that's you, can perceive depth. You can hold an object, rotate it, see all its sides. Your awareness includes perspectives that a two-dimensional being could never access. But what's the next layer? What if the fourth dimension isn't just another direction in space? What if it's a level of consciousness so vast that it experiences all of three-dimensional space simultaneously? All moments, all positions. The way you can look at a map and see the entire city at once, except the city is the entire universe, and the map is time itself. Let's be honest. When physicists start talking about 11 dimensions, most people's brains shut off. It sounds like science fiction, like someone made up a number just to make the equations work. But that's exactly what happened. And it's the most beautiful accident in physics. In the 1970s and 80s, physicists developed something called string theory. The idea was simple. Instead of thinking of particles as tiny points, think of them as tiny vibrating strings. The way a guitar string vibrates at different frequencies to produce different notes, these fundamental strings vibrate to produce different particles, electrons, quarks, photons. But there was a problem. The math only worked in 10 dimensions. Not 9, not 11, exactly 10. 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time, and 6 additional dimensions curled up so small that we can't perceive them. Then, in 1995, a physicist named Edward Witten had an insight that shook the entire field. He realized that there were 5 different versions of string theory, and they all seemed to be describing different aspects of the same underlying reality. Like 5 blind people touching different parts of an elephant. To unify them, he proposed M theory, and M theory required one more dimension. The 11th. Now here's what's wild. That 11th dimension isn't just a mathematical convenience. It's a space where the fundamental building blocks of reality aren't strings anymore. They're membranes, brains, multidimensional sheets of vibrating energy that can have any number of dimensions. 1-dimensional strings, 2-dimensional planes, 3-dimensional volumes. Our entire universe? It might be a 3-dimensional brain floating in an 11-dimensional space. Think about that. You're not living in the universe, you're living on it. Like an ant crawling on the surface of a balloon, convinced the balloon is all there is. And here's the part that changes everything. If our universe is a brain, then there could be other brains, other universes, floating in the same higher dimensional space, separated from us by a distance we can't perceive because the distance isn't in any direction we can point to. You know how the square couldn't imagine up? We can't imagine the direction that leads to the next universe over. But here's where it gets really strange. What if dimensions aren't places? What if they're states of being? The Hindu cosmology, written thousands of years before Einstein, before quantum mechanics, before string theory, talks about layers of reality. Not just physical realms, but levels of consciousness. The material world is the lowest level. Then come the astral planes, the causal realms, dimensions where thought becomes form, where intention is structure, where consciousness doesn't observe reality, it creates it. Western science dismissed this as mysticism, metaphor, wishful thinking. But then quantum mechanics came along and said, observation affects reality. The act of measuring a particle changes its state. Consciousness isn't separate from the universe. It's woven into the fabric of existence. And then string theory came along and said, there are dimensions beyond what we perceive. Layers of reality curled up so small or stretched so vast that our senses can't access them. The mystics and the physicists are describing the same thing. They're just using different languages. Here's something no one teaches you. When physicists talk about compactified dimensions, these tiny, curled-up spaces where strings vibrate, they're describing something that sounds suspiciously like what ancient philosophers called the subtle realms. Places where the rules of physical matter don't apply, where energy moves in patterns that our 3-dimensional minds can't process. But here's the thing that should make you pause. If these dimensions exist, if they're real, then they're not somewhere else. They're here, right now, occupying the same space you're in, but vibrating at frequencies or extending in directions that your senses can't detect. So what does that mean for you? If these hidden layers of reality are all around you, are you sure you're only three-dimensional? What if the boundaries of your body, your thoughts, your entire sense of self are just the limits of your perception? Here's where it gets wild. If all these dimensions exist simultaneously, if reality is this vast, multi-dimensional structure, then what you call you is just a slice, a three-dimensional cross-section of something much, much larger. Think about it like this. Imagine you're a sphere passing through Flatland. The square sees a circle. That circle is real. It exists. It has properties. It can interact with other shapes in Flatland. But it's not the whole you. It's a moment of you. A single instant of your existence as you pass through that plane. Now flip it around. What if the you experience, the body, the mind, the sense of identity, is just the three-dimensional slice of a higher dimensional being passing through space-time? What if the real you exists across all 11 dimensions simultaneously? And what you call consciousness is the experience of that higher dimensional being intersecting with this particular layer of reality. This isn't metaphysics. This is what the math suggests. In M theory, a vibrating string in 11 dimensions can manifest as a particle in 3 dimensions. The particle isn't separate from the string. It's a projection, a shadow. The string is the fundamental reality, and the particle is what it looks like when you can only perceive 3 dimensions. Now take that idea and apply it to you. Your body is the particle, the three-dimensional manifestation, but the real you, the fundamental you, is the string, the brain, the pattern of consciousness vibrating across dimensions you can't perceive. And here's where the cosmology comes in. Let's talk about the beginning. Not the beginning of the universe, the beginning of everything. The Big Bang Theory tells us that 13.8 billion years ago, all of space, all of time, all of matter exploded into existence from a single point. But here's what they don't tell you in the science shows. The Big Bang doesn't explain where that point came from, or why it exploded, or what the rules of physics are based on. It's a great description of what happened, but it's silent on why anything exists at all. Ancient cosmologies, from the Vedas to the Kabbalah to the Hermetic texts, start with something different. Not matter, not energy, consciousness. In the beginning, there was awareness, pure, undifferentiated consciousness. No subject, no object, no self, no other, just infinite potential. And from that consciousness, reality unfolds. The Vedas call it Brahman. The Kabbalists call it Ein Sof. The Hermetic tradition calls it the All. But they're all describing the same thing, a fundamental awareness that exists before space, before time, before dimensions. And here's what's incredible. When you map this onto M theory, it actually makes sense. In the beginning, there's the 11-dimensional space, pure potentiality. No structure yet. No particles, no forces, no time. Just the mathematical field of all possible configurations. Then something happens. Call it a quantum fluctuation. Call it the will of consciousness. Call it whatever you want. A brain forms, space curls, dimensions compactify, and suddenly out of that infinite potential, a universe crystallizes. Not randomly, not by accident, but as a logical unfolding of the mathematical structure of higher dimensional space. And here's the twist. If consciousness is fundamental, if awareness is the ground state of reality, then the Big Bang wasn't the creation of matter. It was consciousness limiting itself, focusing itself, condensing infinite potential into finite form. You know what that means? It means the universe isn't a dead mechanism winding down toward heat death. It's consciousness exploring itself, creating complexity, building structures capable of experiencing, of observing, of becoming aware of awareness. You're not in the universe. The universe is in you. A localized expression of the same fundamental consciousness that creates stars and strings and the 11 dimensions they vibrate in. And here's the part that changes everything. If dimensions are levels of consciousness, if matter and awareness are unified, if your true self exists across all 11 dimensions simultaneously, then you're not trapped in three-dimensional space. You're choosing to focus on it. Think about what that means. Right now, in this moment, you're aware of your body. You can feel your breath, your heartbeat, the pressure of your seat. That's your consciousness tuned to the material dimension, the lowest frequency, the densest vibration. But mystics, meditators, and even people who've had near-death experiences report something consistent. When you quiet the mind, when you stop identifying with the physical body, your awareness expands. You start perceiving things that shouldn't be possible. You feel connected to everything. You experience yourself as vast, unbounded, infinite. That's not hallucination. That's not imagination. That's your consciousness shifting to a higher dimensional perspective. But what about you? If your awareness could lift out of this three-dimensional field, what would you see? Would space still look solid? Or would it dissolve into patterns of light and information? If everything is consciousness, then what exactly is the matter you're made of? And if your reality is just one slice of something vaster, what's casting the slice? Here's something you don't often hear. The entire universe is a hologram. Not metaphorically, literally. According to the holographic principle, one of the most validated ideas in modern physics, all the information in a three-dimensional volume can be encoded on its two-dimensional surface, like a hologram on a credit card, where a flat image contains all the data to reconstruct a three-dimensional object. That means the universe you perceive, with its galaxies and planets and atoms, might be a projection from a lower dimensional boundary, a shadow cast by something more fundamental. And here's where it loops back. If the universe is a hologram, then so are you. Your body, your thoughts, your entire sense of self. They're not the fundamental reality. They're the image, the projection. The real you exists on the boundary, in the higher dimensions, in the field of consciousness that's projecting this three-dimensional experience. You know that feeling when you're in deep meditation or in the moment right before you fall asleep, where you lose track of where your body ends and the room begins, where you feel like you're dissolving into space. That's not you losing yourself. That's you remembering what you actually are. A localized ripple in the infinite ocean of consciousness. A temporary focal point in the holographic projection. And here's the wild part. If you're a hologram, then you contain the whole. Every part of a hologram contains the entire image, just from a different angle. Break a holographic plate into pieces, and each piece still shows the complete picture. That's what the mystics mean when they say, the universe is within you. It's not poetry, it's topology. You're not a separate thing in the universe. You're a unique perspective on the whole universe, encoded in the structure of your consciousness. Here's the thing no one tells you. Science and spirituality aren't in conflict. They're describing the same reality from different angles. When a physicist says, particles don't have definite properties until they're observed, and a Buddhist says, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, they're saying the same thing. Reality doesn't exist independent of consciousness. They're co-arising, interdependent, unified. When a cosmologist says, "The universe emerged from a singularity of infinite density," and a mystic says, "All things return to the One," they're pointing at the same truth. Multiplicity unfolds from unity. Complexity emerges from simplicity. The many are expressions of the One. And when M-theory says, all forces and particles are different vibrations of the same fundamental strings in 11 dimensions. And ancient wisdom says, all is vibration, all is consciousness. They're describing the same underlying structure. We've been at war with ourselves for centuries, splitting reality into matter versus spirit, science versus religion, physical versus metaphysical. But that split was never real. It's a limitation of perception, a consequence of living in Flatland and forgetting about the sphere passing through. The 11th dimension isn't somewhere else. It's here, now, in the space between your thoughts. It's the field of awareness that's listening to these words right now. It's the consciousness that was there before you learned your name, before you formed an identity, before you convinced yourself you were separate from everything else. If you've made it this far, if you're still listening, then something in you already knows this is true. Not believes it, knows it, deeper than thought, deeper than doubt. Because consciousness recognizes itself. The awareness listening to this isn't contained in your skull. It's not produced by neurons firing. Your brain is the radio, not the signal, the receiver, not the broadcast. And right now, that signal is tuning into a frequency that resonates with something you've always felt, but couldn't name. You are not a body with consciousness. You are consciousness with a body, a temporary, focused expression of the infinite field of awareness that is reality at its most fundamental level. The 11th dimension isn't a place you need to reach. It's the space you're already in. It's the ground of being, the ocean you're swimming in while asking where the water is. And the reason you can't see it directly is because you are it. But that realization doesn't arrive as a thought. It comes as a quiet shift. The moment when you stop searching for truth out there and begin to feel what's been looking all along. That's where the 11th dimension reveals itself, not as a mathematical abstraction, but as direct experience, as the ground of your being, as what you've always been before you forgot. The sphere is passing through Flatland right now. You're just seeing the circle. But the sphere is there. It's always been there. And when you're ready, when you stop demanding that reality conform to your three-dimensional expectations, you'll feel it. Not as something outside you, but as what you actually are when you stop pretending to be small. You are the universe experiencing itself, a local fold in the fabric of 11-dimensional space-time, a unique perspective on infinity, and what you see isn't all that exists. It never was.